What we develop as a result of having some of these experiences as children are often looked at as protective mechanisms. So our brain starts to develop a way of keeping us safe, and it wants to make sure that we don't have the same amount of pain that we previously experienced. There's kind of like this little shock that goes through our system that tells us this is something that I want to avoid. So, with our protective mechanisms, that is their function. They're doing the best job that they can to keep us in a safe space. It's not intended to harm anyone or to personalize anything with anyone else as we get older, but that's just what our system needs in order to try and maintain a status quo for us that feels good, that remains comforting, and that doesn't put us in a place of vulnerability where we could re-experience the harm that we felt like we experienced previously. So some of the ways that we do this may be developing a really hard time of trusting others, especially if we know that there's been some kind of breakdown before in a very close relationship. It's going to be hard to want to get close to people again. And all of that is just so that we do not feel hurt at the end of the day. So a lot of times people will build up a wall to try and keep others out. At the same time, that wall also keeps them bordered up and inside. So it's hard to connect with others if you're not able to have a reasonable level of trust for another person. Another example of a protective mechanism may also be when we start to fear vulnerability. So, in the same sense of that wall being there, it's like you don't even want to open the door when something is going on. When you're having a hard time dealing with your own emotions, you don't want to let anybody know that that's the case. Like, there's no way that you would want anyone to know that your guard was down or that you're not completely shielded, because that feels scary. And again, if we're trying to keep um, a status quo of feeling safe, we're not going to have that if we're also letting people know that we're vulnerable. So these things start to create some barriers in relationships, and they can carry into adult relationships. And that's where we would also recognize that connection with attachment. So you're going to see differences with secure attachment, anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, and the different styles of avoidant attachment if these things are not there or if these barriers have become present.